The winter of 1943 in London was unforgiving. The city's spirit, however, remained unbroken despite the relentless bombings that had become a nightly occurrence. Amidst this backdrop, life continued with a semblance of normalcy, and people clung to whatever joy they could find. Eleanor Thompson was a nurse at St. George's Hospital. She had witnessed the horrors of war up close, tending to soldiers and civilians alike. Despite the hardships, Eleanor was determined to bring some Christmas cheer to the hospital's patients. She enlisted the help of her younger brother, Charlie, a member of the Home Guard, to gather decorations and find a tree. "Ellie, are you sure we can pull this off?" Charlie asked as they trudged through the snow-covered streets, their breath visible in the frigid air. "We have to try," Eleanor replied with a determined smile. "These people need something to lift their spirits." They managed to find an old, scraggly pine tree in a nearby park. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. Charlie, resourceful as ever, used bits of old wire and string to tie it to a small cart. Together, they wheeled it back to the hospital, dodging rubble and bomb craters along the way. Inside the hospital, the mood was somber. Injured soldiers lay in their beds, far from home and family, while doctors and nurses bustled about, doing their best with limited supplies. The sight of Eleanor and Charlie dragging in the tree sparked a glimmer of excitement. "Look what we've got," Eleanor called out. "A Christmas tree for all of you." The patients cheered, and a few even managed to sit up to get a better look. Eleanor and Charlie set to work, hanging makeshift ornaments crafted from whatever materials they could scavenge. Nurses joined in, and soon the tree stood adorned with paper stars, tin-foil garlands, and small wooden trinkets. As night fell, the tree stood as a beacon of hope amidst the war-torn surroundings. Eleanor had one more surprise. She had managed to procure a small radio and some records. With the help of a few nurses, she set it up in the main ward. "Everyone, gather around," she announced. "We're going to have a Christmas concert." Charlie took up his post as the radio operator, and soon the soft strains of Christmas carols filled the ward. The patients, nurses, and even the doctors paused to listen, their faces lighting up with smiles. Eleanor led the group in singing along, her clear voice rising above the music. The familiar tunes brought back memories of happier times, and for a few precious moments, the war seemed far away. After the concert, Eleanor made her rounds, checking on each patient and offering words of comfort. She stopped by the bed of Lieutenant James Harris, a young soldier with a severe leg injury. He had been particularly quiet throughout the evening. "Are you all right, Lieutenant?" Eleanor asked gently. James looked up, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Nurse Thompson. This is the best Christmas I've had in years. You've given us all something to hold on to." Eleanor smiled and squeezed his hand. "We're all in this together. Merry Christmas, James." As she continued her rounds, Eleanor couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. In the midst of so much suffering, they had managed to create a little bit of joy outside. The city remained on high alert. Air raid sirens wailed in the distance, a grim reminder that the war was far from over. But inside St. George's Hospital, for that one night, hope and humanity prevailed. The following days brought fresh challenges. Supplies were running dangerously low, and the number of injured continued to rise. Yet, the memory of that Christmas celebration lingered, providing strength to both the patients and the staff. One evening, as Eleanor was finishing her shift, she found herself outside the hospital, gazing up at the night sky. The stars were hidden by thick clouds, and the air was heavy with the threat of another raid. She wrapped her coat tightly around her and sighed. "Penny for your thoughts?" Charlie's voice broke the silence. Eleanor turned to see her brother approaching, his face smudged with soot from his duties. She managed a tired smile. "Just thinking about how we're going to get through all this." Charlie stood beside her, looking thoughtful. "We've made it this far, haven't we? And look at what you did for those soldiers. You gave them hope." "Hope," Eleanor repeated softly. "It's a powerful thing." Charlie nodded. "It's what keeps us going. That, and knowing we're fighting for a better future." As they stood there, side by side, Eleanor felt a renewed sense of determination. The war had taken so much from them, but it had not taken their spirit. They would endure, and someday, they would see a world free of conflict and fear. The next morning, Eleanor woke to a rare sight: sunlight streaming through her window. The snow had melted slightly, and the city seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. She dressed quickly and made her way to the hospital. Inside, the atmosphere was one of cautious optimism. News had spread that the Allies were making significant advances. It was a small glimmer of hope, but in times of war, even the smallest victories were celebrated. Eleanor found James sitting up in bed, a newspaper in his hands. He looked up as she approached, his eyes bright with news. "Have you heard, Nurse Thompson? The tide is turning." Eleanor smiled and nodded. "Yes, James. It seems our Christmas miracle wasn't just a dream." As she moved through the ward, she saw the same hopeful expressions on the faces of the patients. The war was not over, but they had reason to believe that the end was in sight, and so, with renewed vigor, Eleanor and her fellow nurses continued their work, tending to the wounded and offering comfort to the weary. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the heart of London, amidst the ruins of a city under siege, a small hospital became a symbol of resilience and hope. And for Eleanor Thompson, that Christmas in 1943 would always be a reminder of the enduring power of the human spirit. This story captures the essence of finding hope and humanity amidst the chaos of war, focusing on a nurse's efforts to bring Christmas cheer to a war-torn hospital.